Hello and welcome to My First Million Dot Live, a podcast channel where we talk to successful entrepreneurs from all over the world and learn from them how they build successful businesses. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce my guest, Ravi Mittal. He's the CEO, founder of India's very successful dating app, one of the top few, QUACKQUACK, that has over 14 million subscribers, and that is massive. I have known Ravi for more than 12 to 13 years now, but I've been more in touch with his father. I was just telling him, who himself is an accomplished entrepreneur with multiple businesses. In fact, I once visited his office, Deepak's office, and asked him, had conversation about his businesses. With Ravi, I clearly remember the first time I met him. It was in a Toastmasters club, Elan to be precise, in Hyderabad, and there was this young boy who delivered a fantastic speech. I remember, and I also remember being pretty impressed with that speech, and that's how I came to know him. And over the years, I have read about him in newspapers about Quack Quack, some article or the other would talk about its phenomenal success. And then one article caught my fancy, which became viral, which talked about Quack Quack's success through unconventional means, which is bootstrapping. And that became quite viral. And I have interviewed quite a few bootstrap startup founders and have immense respect for them, especially for the patience to build it ground up gradually and succeed. In fact, there's a parallel movement going on against funded startups and a resurgence of bootstrap businesses as well. Quack Quack recently had a campaign just 2 weeks ago. Chuno Use Jo Tumhe Chune campaign again became really viral. I, in fact, dropped a message to Ravi, and that's when I thought I should talk to him. So before I invite Ravi, let me first share the campaign. I think others should also watch it. Let me just play it out for our audience, and then we have introduce Ravi. So
तुम बता रही थी ना कि तुम्हें फास्ट फूड खाना पसंद है, तो ये जैलपीनो पिज्जा मंगवा ली।
जैलपीनो हालपीनो पिज्जा होता है। हालपीनो सही से बोलो। सॉरी।
अरे नहीं नहीं, कोई बात नहीं। वो हम ज्यादा खाते नहीं ना ये सब, तो हमें पता नहीं क्या बोलना चाहिए। हम तो समोसा कचौरी दही पापड़ी खाने वाले लोग रहे।
दादा, एक प्लेट गोलगप्पे और एक प्लेट मोमोज लगा दीजिए, तीखी वाली चटनी के साथ। तुम्हारे लिए दही पापड़ी लगवाऊं या समोसा?
तुम ये ले
नहीं, वो क्या है ना, हम भी गोलगप्पे और मोमोज वाले लोग ही है। ये जालापेन्यो उतना खास नहीं।
तो ना हम समोसे मंगवा लेते हैं।
डन।
चुनो उसे जो तुम्हें चुने। क्वैक क्वैक, इंडिया का फेवरेट डेटिंग ऐप।
that was quite fantastic. Hi Ravi, welcome to My First Million Dot Live. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ravi. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ravi. It's such a pleasure to see you in person. I know we occasionally have exchanged messages on Messenger, but very thrilled and so happy to have you here. And when I saw this video, I think I was massively pleased as well. Um, so so Ravi, before we get into meatier things, I just wanted to know that like I think it has been over 10 years.
Yeah,
How many years since you started Quack Quack?
11 years now.
11 years, right?
Yeah.
As with anybody who would be curious with people starting a business, I'm very curious to know. I know you come from a family of businesses, but how did you zero in on building a dating app and not something else? And while you say that, I would also like anybody who starts a business, has multiple ideas on where they could start businesses with. So were you also tying with other business ideas, and how did you zero in on a dating app?
So I started working early. When I was 16, I was working with my dad. Almost after school, dad had a fallout with his business partner, and he asked me to jump into the business. And while studying my intermediate, I think it's plus two, right? So I jumped into working. Parallelly, I was studying and also going to the manufacturing unit to handle the business.
What
I
business
worked
was
with
that?
that was manufacturing of automobile batteries and the parts related to automobile batteries. So it was a completely manufacturing related work, talking to customers, talking to vendors, handling the production part of it, talking to labor or the supervisors. And I was very, very, very young. I mean, 16. People wouldn't take me so seriously at that age. I worked with that for almost 7 years, and it so happened that I handled multiple manufacturing units one by one, and I figured कि I'm not able to give my 100% to the business, and that was a time when the movie Three Idiots had released, and I was quite inspired by following your passion kind of a catchphrase. And then it came to my mind that this manufacturing line is not suitable to me. I am not someone who can convince purchase managers or to buy my product, or I don't have the skills to bargain with vendors. I was also, since I started working very early, I all my friends were studying, and some of them had gone to US, and so I had a very small friend circle back in Hyderabad here. So I was, signing up on different dating sites. You had hardly one dating site in India. You had all the others which were like European based or American based. And having been through these sites, I had kind of a very good knowledge of how these platforms would work and how there is a dearth of such platforms in India, and how much of it is a need. People do need such platform in India. So I was like, one day I spoke to my dad. I told him, this is not working out for me. I have to move out. I'm not doing any good to the business. I always wanted to do something in the consumer space, the B2C space, where I could directly entertain end consumers. That's where the idea came in for Quack Quack. And I knew that I had spoken to a couple of friends and cousins, who were in India and who felt that there was such a need in India. And that's how I, decided to go ahead with this concept of a dating platform in India.
Got it. But were you very clear that this is what you wanted to do, or did you have multiple ideas in your mind on what you would want to start with?
At that time, I had only one idea, and I was very confident that this is something which would work. So after that, after I started Quack Quack, I did have multiple other ideas, but that's a different story altogether.
But building a tech startup, and a complex one at that, is very different from a manufacturing business that you were exposed to. So did you have any qualms or fears of getting into a tech startup, or were you confident at the very since the very beginning of pulling this through? What state of mind were you? Very confident, or were you tentative? How was it?
Very interesting question. I never thought about this point of view. Uh, so, having worked with that for 7 years, I knew that this business is something which I'm good at. This is something which I can definitely do. I mean, if you ask me to go and work for someone in a company, I can't do that, right? Because I don't have that experience. So, starting a business came easy to me because in that span of 7 years, I had started two or three different manufacturing units.
Nice.
So that way I knew that I could start a business. But again, tech startup is something which is very different. I have no tech background, um, but I knew for a fact that this is something I wanted to try it out, and that gave me confidence somehow that I should proceed. So building a tech startup back then was much easier than compared to now. Let's say you're building a consumer startup right now. You have to build an Android application, an iOS application, and then there are multiple other moving parts. Back then, all I had to do was just build a desktop website. So
Okay.
yeah, so at that point of time, all I had to do was hire a couple of people. Of course, I had no knowledge about the tech side of it, but I read a lot of articles. I understood how Shadi.com, on what platform it was built, how Facebook was built. So using those ideas, I started hiring people.
Uh, got it. But were there initial hurdles? I mean, you would imagine that this is just pulling up a website, hire a few developers, and then
Mhm.
where did you expose yourself into complexities that you never imagined as a platform like this would have? Like, did it throw you off guard?
At the beginning, to be honest, when I was building the platform or when you're building a product, you don't think beyond getting the product ready. So it took about 6 to 8 months for the website to get ready. Once the website was ready, I was in a state of shock as to now I have to start proving myself. The honeymoon period is over. The 6 to 8 months period of just building and telling people that I'm building something excellent is done now. Now is the time to start marketing and get people on board, and now get revenue or show engagement. So that is where the real issue came in. And so that period was the time when even getting a payment gateway was not easy for a dating app, dating platform like us.
Of
uh,
course, yeah, that was a huge thing at that time.
Yes. So all the banks would deny giving a gateway to a dating website. Of course, there were hardly any dating websites in India. So there was no, I couldn't say, you gave the gateway to X company, why don't you give it to me? So it was very difficult. But somehow we got through, we got one payment gateway. But again, after 2 or 3 months, the payment gateway would suddenly, audit us, and then they would say, we are not going to support you further. So yeah, we were thrown off guard a couple of times just because we were a dating website. So the concept of dating was not in 2010. People were very skeptical of supporting such platforms. So that was one major issue we did face, and we definitely faced issue with running ads on Facebook, wherein they have very strict rules for dating platforms.
Right.
Um, we had a lot of argument with them. Our accounts were banned. They wouldn't let run our ads, but we somehow fought with them and we got through. So it was a constant struggle with a couple of things where dating was a taboo back then.
So did it put you in self doubt if you are in the right business, or what was your state of mind then?
I was thinking that I was in the right business, but I wasn't being supported by different factors which would help me market my product and generate revenue. I did believe that the product would, run because I had paying customers from the second month. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So you
So
mean after 8 months of building the website, you took another 2 months to get
yes.
customers? Is that how it is? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We may not have been profitable, from the beginning, but we did have paying customers, and that was a very big validation for me that there are people who are ready to pay for such a platform, and that was enough for me to give the confidence that no matter if even if the bank is not supporting me, I'll probably open a company in USA and get a payment gateway from there. So this is how I was ready for all kinds of scenarios.
And how ready was the market? Like, as you said, I'm from those days, and at that
Mm.
time, marital websites, matrimony websites
Yeah.
were very popular. All
Yeah.
right, and people used to go to matrimony websites to date people also, like because there was no proper dating vertical. So matrimony is where people used to date. In
Yeah.
fact, I got married through a matrimony website, so I know that for sure. But was the market ready when you ventured, or even your user base was skeptical to try something like this?
There was always a market, even back then. Of course, women were very, much more skeptical of using a dating platform.
Yes.
Um, Men were certainly using certain dating websites. So what we would do is we would go and target people on those websites. We would run our ads and get those people first on board because they already knew the concept of dating. So I think in terms of scale, we never had an issue. If I spend 1,000 rupees a day on ads, that would get consumed. I mean, we would get traffic. And if I wanted to spend 5,000 rupees a day, also, I'm sure we would have got traffic. So there's never a dearth of men on dating application. There's always a dearth of women. But again, I think last 3 years, the scenario is changing even post lockdown and stuff. So we never had an issue there. The issue was more towards the perception of businesses supporting us. That was more of an issue.
So interestingly, you are saying it was more popular amongst men. Women were slow to catch up on. So for a business like this, which is a matching portal
Yeah,
for dates, it is like you have to maintain this equilibrium, isn't it, between the opposite sexes?
yeah.
Um, so was it a challenge initially, and how did you deal with it? Did you have to wait for the ecosystem to be more ready for women? How did you deal with that phase?
It was certainly difficult. I mean, the whole game of a dating app business is to have an equilibrium wherein uh, there are men and women who match with each other and eventually, chat or go out on a date. That is when your platform is successful. And for the first 3 or 4 years, if we spend 1 rupee to get a male user, we spend almost 10 rupees to get female users. So it was the marketing spend was 1:10. We had spent a lot of money to actually get female users, and yet the ratio of male to female would be 90 is to 10, 85 is to 15. So that was certainly there.
So you just had to bide time and make what measures did you take to make it more welcoming for women participants or women subscribers?
Yeah. Right from the beginning, we had moderation in place. We have 100% moderation concept, wherein if you create a profile, right from your image to your bio, uh, everything is monitored. Now we have AI and stuff in between, but when we started back then, we did have moderators who would check each and every profile, each and every photo. They would try to confirm if this is a fake profile or not. And let's say if you end up sending an abusive message to women, we would send you warnings. We do that even now, but then this is how we try to keep the platform safe.
So
And
only if it is flagged, or you'd automatically know if it is an abusive
yeah,
message.
we had filters and patterns in place, so that would help us know that this could be potentially abusive, and that would get flagged to the moderators as well. So, I mean, that's how dating platforms are. People do abuse the platform. It's like a social media platform, right? I mean, you'd have good elements and bad elements both.
Right.
So, how you moderate is how you keep the platform clean.
Got it. And also, not just keep the platform clean, advertise this, that you know what, ours is a platform which is sensitized, sanitized, and
Yeah,
better than others, because there is a perception problem also with this dating sites, right?
yeah.
And the first thing that I noticed is the name of the
Mm.
dating app, which sounds cute and harmless and welcoming, because quack quack is like. So how did you come up with the name?
um, it's a very funny thought process went behind. So back then Twitter was getting popular, and Twitter's tweet was something people refer to, right? You're sending out a tweet, someone has tweeted. So when I had a word with my you know the team which was behind all the designing part of it, they came up with the idea that let us name it Quack Quack, because a quack from a duck would mean a quack for a duck and not for someone else. So something of that kind of a concept we had, where a quack would get you a quack. So something of that sort, and Quack Quack was something which was a little funny and resonate with the young audience, and it was quirky. So that is how we went through.
Yeah, instead of having something cupid love and all that,
Yeah.
which is actually a turn off,
Yes.
this was very welcoming. And I clearly remember when I came to know about the name, I said, you have cracked it, at least on the name side of front. And it sounds so refreshingly different than others.
Yeah.
um, I
Yeah,
also.
I'll just add on a point that we never wanted to keep the name very cliched, as you said, QPD or findyourlove.com or whatever. We didn't want to make it sound very cliche, and yeah, that would be certainly a turn off for me as a person to sign up, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so this is for all the people who are not from tech background and who have this fear that they might not have the tech skills to become a tech founder.
Hmm.
I would like to know from your experience, how was it? How challenging is it? And how did you deal with it? What was your learning phase? How did you deal with the tech team when the founder is not from a tech background? Could you help us understand these dynamics, and what is the message that a non-tech founders can learn from your journey?
Something I learned from my dad is that every business is similar overall, be it a manufacturing business or be it running a tech company, or let's say you're running a restaurant. Your overall dynamics are same. If you look into it microscopically, there are different moving parts, but the overall nature of business is same. Now, let's say you start a restaurant. Of course, 99% of the business owners, the restaurant owners, are not chefs. They don't know how to cook, right? They're actually hiring chefs, and they're hiring support team or waiters or stewards to serve people. And I would put it in very similar way for a tech company. For me, I learned through building the platform. I read articles about what a PHP platform is, or what Python would mean, what is MySQL, um, what is a server, right? Where do you host it? How do you send out emails? What is SaaS, right? So I kept reading articles, and it was not too technical for me to understand. When I say too technical, I don't have to learn how to code.
Right.
I just need to understand the language in which I can talk to my tech team in
Got it.
very simple terms, right? So again, very simple example, you need to know how to talk to your chef. This is tasty, this is not tasty, probably put in more salt, or I want more desserts in the menu. So it's all about you understanding the basics, which is very important. Again, I do remember someone asking me, if you're doing a startup, do you need to know how to code? Do you need to know how to do digital marketing? And my answer was very simple, that you don't need to know everything, but you need to know the overall broader concepts of each of these things, so that you can communicate with your team easily,
Right.
be it designing, be it digital marketing, or be it tech. You need to know how to talk to people and get through your message, right? That is more important.
Because usually the non-tech founders try, before they begin their business, they try to look for a tech founder to
Right.
complement their strengths.
Yes.
But I don't think you had a tech founder. You were the only founder. But did you get yourself a tech lead or a city or something of that sort to back you with the technical skills?
No, to be honest, as I said, I hired two people in my team. One was a designer and one was a developer. I just had two people for the first 1 to 2 years.
Mhm.
And since it was a desktop application, I think the tech team was not very elaborate, and all you had to do was build a website with a decent, backend, right? Um, Now, if you have to build, you need to hire an Android developer, an iOS developer, or maybe a hybrid developer. uh, Maybe going forward you might have to hire some data scientist or someone in AI.
Analytics.
But you can start slow. You can start with a small team, learn through the process yourself as to how an Android app works, how are push notifications sent, very basic stuff. So what I do is I keep an Android phone. 90% of the Indian market is Android. I cannot, even while I can afford to buy an iPhone, I will not buy it, because I need to use Android, because my users are on Android, right?
Right.
Very simple. One day when I was using WhatsApp, I realized that WhatsApp's notifications pop up on the phone, and I realized my apps notifications are not popping up. And then when I spoke to my Android developer and I showed him, he explained that there are different kinds of notifications on Android. So we could configure that, and we could send notifications where they would pop up. Now imagine if I send a pop-up notification, the number of clicks on the notification increases and the engagement increases.
Right.
Right. So having that simple common sense is what you need.
Got it.
That is all you need, right? You need to uh, use your product. You need to keep exploring. If you're building an Android app, very simple, download a lot of good Android applications, Airbnb or let's say Uber, and figure out how they are working, and probably you'll get inspired and learn something from that. And that's the communication you need to give your team. That's all you need to do.
Got it. So when you began this, what was your plan of? So what was your runway like? When did you start thinking? All the upfront investment I'm putting in. When should I hit? Did you have any plans on the revenues, on profitability, or did you, or were you looking on how? I mean, maybe as things come by, I will plan accordingly. What were your initial thoughts on revenues and profitability?
Okay. So in 2010, there was no term called startup, to be honest, right? All we did was business. And my only reason to start Quack Quack was I would run it like a business. I would make revenue. I would satisfy my customers, and that's it. That's what a business is. When I started, I had in my kitty about 25 lakhs or so. But I never used the entire money. I might have spent maybe 4 to 8 lakhs for the initial development. And then when I started spending on the
So 8
marketing,
months. 8 months is 8 lakhs. Is that how it is? Okay.
yeah, approximately, yes, including maybe some other expenses. So once the platform was ready, I would spend money on marketing. And I told myself, if I'm spending 1,000 rupees on marketing, let me get 1,000 rupee revenue. So at least, I'm not putting in more money into the business, but I can run the business, sustain it for no profit, no loss kind of a scenario,
Right.
which I did for about 3 years. I probably had no profit or no loss, but I was never in a loss, right? As a business, this is from a business perspective. This is how I would run business.
Right.
After 3 years, I got more ideas. I started, A/B testing and growth hacking kind of stuff, and that is where the revenue started going up. And
Got
we would reinvest that money to grow, the user base or traffic or whatever you would call it.
Got it. So you had your fixed cost on development, but you were testing out on your marketing spend. All
Yes.
right. So that was how it was. And did you? So the concept, the difference between early businesses and startups is,
Yeah.
startups is all about the way startups differentiate from normal businesses. It's about rapid growth. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and the reason people go behind venture funding is to scale, right? Because
Yeah.
if you are bootstrapping, then your growth is slow, because you have to wait for the revenues, you have to put back the money and grow at a pace which might lose if
Mm.
competitors are heavily funded. So
Yeah.
did you ever have such pressures, and how did you keep yourself sane and not take venture funding and still survive in the market?
Very relevant question for anyone who has been a bootstrap startup. It hurts a bootstrap startup entrepreneur when you in regular, when I meet people, even my relatives, or even some friends, the question would come is, when are you raising funds? How much funds did you raise? Startup is not about always raising funds, right? It's about how you sustain your business, how you run it. Now, the simple concept of a bootstrap startup versus a funded startup is that there is a car which has, let's say, some petrol in it, and a bootstrap startup is going at a speed of 40, which is economical and would probably sustain it for longer if the economy is good, right? A funded startup is someone who drives at a speed of 100, 120, 130, and he is going to lose out his fuel very fast. If he misses a petrol pump, right, his fuel is over, and that's where his game ends. That is the difference between a bootstrapped and a funded startup. I had immense pressure in 2014-15, where one of the Indian competitors, which had recently launched back then, raised funding, and they were doing extremely good. And that put a lot of pressure.
Extremely good in user acquisition.
Yes, user acquisition and spending money on advertising.
Got it.
Yeah. So they raised about, I think, $5 million, and that is a good money for a dating startup to attract a lot of people and do a lot of marketing. And all the newspapers were talking about them. No one is talking about us, who was already like a 5-year-old company
Right.
and had, I think, 3 million users back then.
Right.
So my weight was about 84, 85. I'm 63 something right now. I lost about 20 kgs after that. That was a peak stress for me, and I used to have palpitations,
So
right?
you lost weight because of stress.
I gained weight because of stress.
Ah,
Yeah. So I think in 2010 or so, when I was a Toastmaster, maybe let's say my weight was around 70 something.
right.
But it peaked to about 83, 84. And it was a very bad phase where, I would only think about my competitors. I would think I would just go to their website and monitor how many new users they have, what they are doing. I lost focus on my business. In that process, I spent a lot of money on marketing, which I shouldn't have done. So in a way, my mind was not working.
So
And
what was bothering you?
the fact that someone who came only a couple of months back raised funding and was doing extremely good, and here I was with my 5-year journey, and yet people were not validating what we did.
People as in press.
Press, or in general, people were talking more about the other platform and not us.
Got it.
So yeah, it felt bad, and it felt a lot of pressure on me as to what did I do in this 5 years or 6 years, and what can I do further to beat them. And eventually that took a toll on my health, and I had severe palpitations. I had to go see a cardiologist. The cardiologist told me you're taking too much stress. He gave me tablets. He said you need to lose weight. And that was a time where I sat back. I figured that this is not good for me. My health is more important. Of course, I had my dad, my family, my wife who supported me. And I took a conscious decision that, okay, business, I'll run it. I will not look at the competition, and I will focus on my health. And as I started losing weight, I think I gained a sense of awareness that I need to focus on my platform. I need to focus on my customers. What others did shouldn't matter to me. And I think from that was a turning point for me. So if you're a startup founder or an entrepreneur, you are bound to have a lot of moving parts which will give you a lot of stress. So this is an ongoing journey. This is something I think entrepreneurs face on a daily basis, right? But yeah, 5 years or 6 years back, that was peak for me, where I wanted to quit the business, and I had nothing to look forward to. But I think somehow, uh, you know, that stress was a turning point for me to completely drastically change how I looked at my business.
So what did you do then? So you said I wanted to focus back. What did it mean in terms of real work?
I stopped focusing on my competition. I realized it is futile to monitor them because they will do what they like to do, and their style of working is going to be different because they're a funded startup. They're raising funds, and their next goal is to raise funds and not probably cater to customers. And their runway would be 1 or 2 years, because if they don't raise funds in 2 years again, they'll probably lose out on the race. As I said, if they miss the petrol pump, they are gone, right? And my focus was, I already was making profit, and let me use that profit to make a product which my customers would keep loving. How I can gradually and slowly increase my user base, increase my revenue, increase the engagement. So my focus was completely on my platform, and I stopped looking at other platforms. If you remember, Ravi, you sent me a video of Tinder on Messenger.
And you said I don't want to watch competitor videos.
Exactly. That is the very reason I don't look at competition anymore,
I
because
see.
if I do, it will stress me out. I know for a fact, and I will do something stupid, and I'll tell my team, why don't we copy this, right?
Right.
So I don't want to get into that phase where these things matter to me. I'll build my platform on my own. Today, every 90 days, we add 1 million users. And
Wow.
I think we are among the top 5 dating platforms in India. No one else adds 1 billion users. Maybe Tinder might add, or Bumble might add, but
Right.
in India, we are the only one. So I've stopped looking at competition. And what happened after 2018 or so, the competitor who I was stressing about actually fell out,
Hmm.
right? And they couldn't run their business. They had the founders exited, someone else came in. They raised, uh, $500,000 one year, like just in 2019 or 20. So
Right.
raising 5 million in 2015 to raising just 500K later is a down round, right? And I realized, eventually the way they run their business is different from me, and I'll just focus on my business.
Got it. So I've often wondered the nature of matrimony businesses or dating businesses is you're always under the pressure of getting new users, right?
Yeah.
Because once the match is done, they would often
Yeah.
offboard themselves from the app, right? So there's
Yeah.
no recurring model. Of course, the date it does not mean like a permanent relationship.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
it's not as bad as matrimony, but help
Yeah.
me understand this dynamics and how do you manage this pressure of always
Hmm.
acquiring new users?
So attrition is definitely very high on dating platforms, much higher than a matrimonial platform. So eventually, the whole game boils down to getting more users on board.
Right.
Right, that's when you get more people to pay for the first time subscription. But eventually, what we have seen is that we have almost 15 to 20% recurring, users who come back. And today, almost 40% of our revenue is from recurring customers,
Ah, okay.
right? So what we do is we give them discounts after the first subscription, so that tempts them to come back,
Right.
to retain their subscription. And yeah, that has helped us, retain customer, and we give some benefits to renewing customers. So we believe that that is how you can sustain running a dating platform like us.
So are the business models of all dating sites similar or they differ one from another in terms of how they price and what the business model is?
If you look at Flipkart and Amazon, end of the day, they are selling a product and it's getting delivered to you. So as an end consumer, for you, it might all look very similar, but how your algorithm runs, or how you uh, you know improve your product internally, is different, right? For example, Zomato and Swiggy we use in India here. Maybe Swiggy will optimize the delivery by delivering two orders by the same person and reduce the cost of delivery, unit economics, right?
Right.
So it's very similar to that. Just for an example, recurring discounts what we give, others don't give, right? So that helps us
Mm.
get more renewing customers. So
Got
there
it.
are, yeah, overall, for the end user, he needs to get a match, but internally how we optimize it, how we improve user engagement is very different for each company. And there are certain features which Tinder might have and we might not have. We have certain features which are Indian specific, which our audience loves, right?
Right.
So that way there are certain tweaks here and there wherein each platform differs from each other.
Got it. Do you so you said you have a higher upfront fee, or is that how it is? So do you? So sometimes what happens is you want consumers signing up, and you want a reduced fee so that the friction is less. But then you
Mhm.
also know that this is the nature of business. Once the
Hmm.
match is done, they would leave. So you have to
Yeah.
monetize in the first instance. So how do you? So it's like a trade off, isn't it?
Okay, interesting question. But I'll put it in a very different context as to what we do. Uh, I am someone who loves doing A/B testing, and I love growth hacking. What we figured is, we figured that we could price our subscription on age basis, right? We have a lot of youngsters in India, 18 to 20.
Right.
That is the age when you don't have money in your pocket, right?
and,
That's
and
the
and that's the age that is potentially dating a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, correct. So what we figured out is by doing A/B testing. So what we used to do, we do split testing, wherein there are 20 people in a room. Let's say 10 people, when they go to checkout, they see a price of 500 rupees a month as a subscription fee. The other people see 250 rupees as the price, right? Um, and we then run the test for 3-4 months, and then our eventual goal is to see where we are getting quality customers, number one, and then where we get more revenue.
Right.
Then we realized that people who are paying 500 is the customer who we want, not the 250,
Right.
right? So that helped us figure out that, okay, this is going to be a pricing model. We are not going to keep it too low or too high.
Right.
And then after a couple of months came the idea that a person who is 18-year-old cannot afford to pay 500.
Right.
India is a very price sensitive market, and moreover, you're at an age where you can't spend money. You don't have a credit card, also, right? You might have a Paytm wallet. You might not have a credit card or a debit card.
Right.
And then we figured, let us do an age based pricing, wherein 18 to 20-year-olds would see a price of, let's say, 299. Okay. Then people from the age group of 21 to 30. Again, in that we have 5 price brackets. The price varies from 499 to 600 to 399, right? And people who are 30 and above are the ones who, for them, they've already earned money, and they wouldn't mind spending more. The pricing for them is 1,000 rupees.
But would they get better benefits in the product, like better features or something, or no?
The same product.
Same product. Got it. Yeah. I completely understand that. So is the market very price competitive between these different platforms? Like, are
I
they
think
competing on price,
even
or is it on brand basically?
it's eventually what platform you use. It's not about that wahan sasta mil raha hai to wahan chala jaunga. It's not like that.
Okay.
It's about I am using this platform for a particular time. It's like what do you call that, sunk cost fallacy. Like you're playing Candy Crush 10 levels, and then you figure out ki should I spend money because I've already spent time, so much time. Should I take a boost? Should I buy some powers, right? So
Hmm.
that is how it works in the dating thing as well, where let's say you've spent 10 days as a free user on the platform, and
Right.
you're like, yeah, I'm getting a match right now, I want to see
Right.
who this person is. So you will pay money to unlock those features.
Got it. You mentioned about Bumble. Bumble would be the newest entry,
Yeah.
I mean, and also I think they went public also
Yes.
last year, and run by a
Yes.
female founder.
Yeah.
Um, so and they have a so they advertise themselves as woman friendly or
Yeah.
initiated by women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm assuming is each of these platforms have certain value proposition which they
Yeah.
want to differentiate. What is the value proposition of Quack Quack then?
The while we portray ourselves as a dating application, we are more of a platform where people come and chat. Almost 500,000 chats happen on a daily basis on a platform, right? So let's put it like how you portray Instagram Reels versus TikTok. I'm not sure if you must have used TikTok in India,
Right.
but TikTok in India was a very tier 2 tier 3 audience, very penetrated in villages and smaller towns and stuff. Whereas Instagram is something which is more of an urban thing, right? You would see most of people in Delhi or Bombay or Hyderabad would use it. So I would put it in that way. Tinder is like very focused in urban areas.
Hmm.
Bumble is someone who is pro women, a women centric platform, but again, again mostly in urban areas.
Right.
As a platform, we figured that our audience lies in the smaller towns and cities.
Right.
70% of our users post lockdown have been coming from all the smaller towns and cities, right from northeast to, let's say, even Jammu, to even places like Kanpur or Jabalpur or Bareilly. So our audience is very different that way, and their needs are very different. They cannot go out on a date with someone who's in Delhi, right?
Hmm.
Instead, they would want to chat with them because they are lonely and they
Got
probably never had a chance to talk to a girl,
Right.
or they're too shy, they're too private, right?
Right.
So
And
they,
then I don't think there are any other than Facebook Messenger. I do not know how different is Facebook Messenger, but this is very interesting. So there are no safe chat places to talk to people. I remember when internet was new, I used to be spending a lot of time in Yahoo Messenger
Yahoo
talking to
groups, yeah,
strangers.
correct.
uh,
So as a country, I think we are in that stage where we want to talk to people online, right? If you talk to someone from a tier 2 tier 3 city, they would have never interacted with a woman before, right? and that is where the need comes in for them to go online, send a like, or say hi to them. So even before, I think Tinder has now introduced a feature where you could send a message to someone before you match. We had that feature right from the beginning,
Ah, okay.
right? So we have a dedicated area where you can sort through profiles and chat with them. We have a area where you can explore profiles. Let's say you're from Hyderabad, but you can explore profiles from Delhi or from Jaipur or from Indore, right? You can select multiple cities and find users. So these are small things we have done, uh, which is something which our users love eventually.
Right. So that is your value proposition. So you are
Yes.
creating a chat first experience for people to get to know each other and maybe
Yes.
warm up to each other and get
Yeah.
comfortable before they take the next step, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
so tell us about the status quo today. So as I mentioned, you have 14 million subscribers already. What would you be comfortable sharing the revenue numbers and how big is the team
Mhm.
and stuff like that?
Sure. I have about 23 people in my team. It's a very small team compared to, um you know, a startup who has half the revenue of our size in India, right? One of my competitors is 80 people in the team. My team is just 22 people, out of which five people are moderators.
Hmm.
And we get about 10,000 new users every day. I think
Wow.
last year when the first lockdown started in India, we added about 18 to 20,000 users every day,
Wow.
and yet the small team of five people were able to sustain and moderate each and every profile,
Right.
right? So that is where my theory is that if you're running a business, anything which is clerical has to be automated. So we added a lot of AI things. We added a lot of patterns, as I told you, about abuse and stuff.
Right.
So that way we have a very lean team that way.
Got it.
We have I think four or five developers. We have one designer and four or five people in digital marketing. That's how lean and small my team is. In terms of numbers, as I said, we're adding about 10,000 users every day. I was just looking at some data. It was last week just we celebrated crossing 14 million users, and it was 3 years back that our user base was 4 million.
Wow.
Right. So I would also add that getting competition like Bumble and Tinder has actually helped a platform like us, because they're educating the market on people to go find a date, skip the traditional methods of dating. So
I
having
see.
competition is good.
So
Just being a single.
if somebody is getting aware through Tinder, in
Yes.
fact, it is benefiting the other competitors because
Yes.
they might not go eventually to Tinder, but they want to explore the space and do
Yes.
some research, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And eventually, when you have platforms like Bumble asking women to get on board because it's a safe platform, women are getting used to the idea of dating, right? And if you would see, I think last post lockdown onwards, we have got more, an increase in terms of female users. So it's a win-win for the industry as such. Um, just one more point I would like to add here is that let's say you're the first person to launch something new. I think you will not succeed unless you have some competition. For example, Flipkart, right? Flipkart was the only e-commerce platform, and they set up the base for Amazon. When Amazon came in, they just swept it,
Hmm.
right? So that is one learning which I figured that if you have competition, it's easier to just throw the money and grab the market.
But no, no, I didn't understand that. So if you have competition, it is so if you are getting into a new market and there is a
Yeah.
competition already existing, it is
Yeah.
easy to be there. Is that what you are
It
trying to
is
say?
easy to penetrate the market because your audience is educated. For example, before
Ah, okay.
you had Ola or Uber. um, you never book a cab, right?
Right,
You would have to call someone. Again, you wouldn't use it every day.
right,
Now let's say Ola came into the, or let's say Uber came into the market. I think in India, in Hyderabad, Uber was the first one who came.
right.
So Uber educated people okay, I was hesitant the first time I was booking an Uber, but once I booked, I was like, okay, this is pretty easy.
Right.
And that when Ola launched, they didn't have to do anything more, right?
Right.
All I had to do was install their app and just book a cab.
Got it. Got it. So they did not, I mean, have to make people aware and stuff like that. So
Yes.
that headache is taken care of. All you
Yeah.
need to do is just position yourself and differentiate yourself than the others.
Yes.
Even that can be taken care of, because if it's a monopoly market, the customers would want, they would do all the hard work to see who is the new player. Am I getting a better service, and is it price friendly
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. So, okay,
Mm.
let's break your major milestones through the year. So you talked about your first initial months, and then you also talked about 2015, the
Mm.
trouble period. So the growth from your first user to 14 million today, I'm sure it is not an incremental
Yeah.
growth, it's not a gradual growth. So
Mm.
would you share your major milestones in this entire journey, and how was this
Mm.
trajectory in terms of revenue and growth and stuff like
Right. So our first revenue was after 3 years. I think almost three. Sorry, the first uh, um profitable month was probably after 3 years of starting up.
that? Right.
Um, I think
With how
we
many users?
sorry.
How many users you would say 3 years?
I don't remember on to be very honest,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
as I said, 3 years back, our total user base was 4 million.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. That was good. No, 4 million is great. Yeah.
yeah, 4 million. Let's say till about 6 to 7 years being in the industry, right? In the Indian market.
Right.
It is only like last 3 or 4 years we have seen like tremendous growth in the dating space. Our revenue jumped, I think, from 2018 to 2019. It jumped by almost 50%, 2x of revenue we did. We did about, I think, 1 crore in revenue in 2019, and 2020 again we jumped from 1 crore to 1.4 crores in revenue. But from 2020 to 21, it has been the same, because again, there is a peak at which the lockdown benefited us, but it has dropped again because multiple lockdowns came in. They opened up, the economy had weakened, people did not have money to pay for subscription, so we had also cut down our costs on scaling up. The
Right.
second wave was really bad because a lot of youngsters were affected,
Right.
and uh, even while we never were making loss, but we also scaled down a lot during the second wave. The market is again picking up right now, and as I said, we're adding about 10K users every day. Our revenue is same as last year, but we are making more profit because the kind of optimizations we have done, the kind
Right.
of understanding we have had of the people and the market.
Right.
So this has been a very simple, explanation of the kind of time, milestones we've had.
Got it. So what I see is you have this natural inclination to keep yourself lean and disciplined in terms of keeping the team tight. And does this come from the grounding of the early businesses that you have been part of with your dad and stuff like that? Does it come from that strong foundation of discipline? Because if you look at some of the well-funded startups, they do not have the discipline. They have the money and they splurge it, right? So,
Yeah, I think this comes from the fact that we are bootstrapped. If I was funded and if I had excess money,
right,
I would have hired left, right, and center, and probably had a team which was not monitored well enough. And I think it all boils down to how you hire people. Um, if I mean, we take a lot of time to hire people. It takes about 1 to 2 months for us to actually figure out if the vibe matches with the person we are hiring, and we want someone who is fast paced. That's the one thing I tell whoever I hire: if you're fast, you're going to be in my team. If you're slow, you will slow everyone else in the team, and we don't need you in that case.
the concept of the
So
weakest link, weakest
weakest
link.
link, exactly, yes. So that has helped us in a way where each and every person knows that this person is the weakest link, and this is why we are slowing down. And by observing the team, I think there's a culture which is there where you have to be fast and you have to learn a lot of things, right? So that has helped us. I wouldn't say per se that I learned it from my dad, but the fact that you're running a bootstrap startup, uh, money
Hmm.
teaches you a lot of things.
Of course, yeah, it's your money.
Yeah.
um, um, but today you do not have scalability issues with the lack of funding, right? I mean, can you scale, like, first of all, how big is the market? I mean, looking at your numbers, 14 million. I do not
Mm.
know if 14 million is a really good number, or is there a potential to 10x that number? First of all, I do not know how big is the market, and do you still have growth challenges, or this is the best that any funding startup can also be at?
There is a tremendous growth in India. I'll give you one simple statistic.
Right.
When we started, the average age of our users was 30. Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe 3 4 years back, the average age was around 26.
Right.
So the audience is getting younger. Okay, today the
Mhm.
average age is around 24. That means
Oh,
a
nice.
lot of people who are 18 to 20, you know, right off the bat, right out of college,
Mm.
your first preference is a dating app and not a matrimonial site,
Right.
right? So, and India is a very young country.
Correct.
If you see, we have a lot of people who are in that 13 to 20 bracket, and
Mm.
the next 5 to 10 years, this is the core audience. This is the people who will turn 25 and 30, and these are the people who will look forward to using dating apps.
And maybe also people are delaying their marriages as well, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Delaying marriages, don't want to get married or getting
What is
divorced and still looking for partners, right?
Got it.
A lot of married people also come on the platform.
Got it. Yeah.
So, see, I'm not giving you a rosy picture, but just giving an indication that, there's a lot of scope to go forward in the next 4 to 5 years.
Got it. So, any other challenges other than competing with well-funded startups, or so are you? First of all, is this
Our
is this how?
primary, our primary challenge is getting women on board, right? That
I
is
see.
the primary issue.
What's the
Rest
ratio now? What's the ratio now?
75 to 25.
Ah,
So
even
what we
now.
have, yeah. Again, I would say with competition coming in, that helped us. With the lockdown happening, I think people were looking for an escape. That really helped women get on board to dating apps. The younger people are opening up to the concept. They're learning about the concept of dating online, right? These things have helped us, and we have also started, running ads or marketing in vernacular. Earlier, we used to run
Okay.
ads only in English, and
English.
then we realized while our audience is 70% is from smaller towns and places, why are we not running ads in like Oriya or Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam, right? And
Right.
that really helped us. We started getting more users on board.
Got it.
So
Got it.
that is a primary challenge which we have to fix. We want to probably get it to 50-50, right?
Got it.
Because once you have a 50-50 ratio, more people start matching, and then the
Mm.
word of mouth spreads and more people will come in. That's a primary challenge. Then comes the competition. There are 4 to 5 players, not more than that at the moment. Earlier we had more players, but the challenge is not as much at the moment with them. And I'm someone right now who is not focusing on my competition. My competition is with me as to how much I can grow in terms of numbers, right?
Got it.
For the next 1 to 2 years, we want to focus on vernacular. We want to focus on reaching the heartland of the country, and with that experience, we'll probably go to other countries, let's say Turkey, which is a non English speaking audience, maybe
Oh,
Indonesia.
yes. I forgot to ask about that. Yeah. So what's your plan with growth outside India?
Uh, we want to wait for 1 2 years because we also need to design our application where it supports multiple languages. It is only in English right now, but
Right.
our advertising is in vernacular. So with India, that is okay. People might speak Tamil, but they also read and write English, right? But in countries like, let's say, Turkey, or let's say Vietnam or Indonesia, they only speak and read and write their languages, right? They
Right.
don't understand English. So by using this experience, we want to rebuild our application in vernacular,
Right.
and then go to these countries and try explore those markets as well. But until then, India is a huge market. India is a
Got it.
market where there is a tremendous potential,
Right.
and I have been strayed a couple of times where I wanted to build something else as well. I had planned to build a matrimonial app as well. And then I realized I'm losing focus if I'm doing something else.
That's a very interesting thing, right? Because at any given point of time, when you start looking at adjacent opportunities,
Yeah.
you and and come on, the thing is, again, it's a matter of choice. Do you want to
Yeah.
grow, or do you want to remain happy with where you are? Because again, growth is not always a choice of ambition, but also
Mm.
survival, isn't it?
Mm. Mm.
Because you might want to be happy with where you are, but if you don't grow, you might be killed.
Mm.
Keeping that in point of view, you would want to come up with new businesses, new verticals, adjacent verticals. So how do you keep yourself how do you decide whether or not to invest in a new vertical and maybe get some external funding and stuff like that?
Mhm. I think being a single founder, my bandwidth is very limited that way. So I am at a disadvantage where if I had a new idea, it's only me who has to work on it. But I'm sure if you had multiple, co-founders, it would have been easier, but not in a stage where you're growing. Let's say you're well established like Google, you can always have a product team who can start off venturing into something new.
Right.
But as a small startup, this is something which is very risky, and you're diverting your mind. So, for example, last year when Bumble launched, we had the idea that we should do something like Bumble. So, Bumble is not exactly a casual dating app and not a matrimonial app, but something in between where the urban audience needs, right?
Right.
It's a platform where you go on a serious date and find someone who you want to marry, probably, right? That is where Bumble is how it is projected in India.
Right.
We thought we could build something like that, and we can. I'm sure I can build a product and yet make a product profit out of it. But then I realized that QUACKQUACK is doing good, and if I venture out on something like that, I'm going to divert my attention. And while it might sound lucrative, I need to take a hard stop, a hard call that I need to focus on one, business or one startup or one product, right? So that is a very conscious decision. Otherwise, you're tempted to try new things.
Got it. But if you make a move to other countries, then you'd definitely want to get funding, no?
I don't think so. I would be in that space. See, for me, I'm a person who I've seen startups, die down because they raised funds in a dating industry as such. See, you need to maintain a male female ratio. I believe that is very important, and you need to crack the market. You need to start making money. That is important because let's say you don't raise funds tomorrow. What will you do? You have to shut down your startup.
Hmm.
And I am someone who would rather go slow, figure it out rather than get pressured and die down after 1 or 2 years. So
Right.
this is a very conscious decision you take as a bootstrap founder.
Got it. But are you chased by VCs, right, left, center, or do they write to you? Because I mean, come on, a bootstrap, profitable startup like you must be. Just imagine the valuation, right? So do you often get unsolicited requests from VCs to fund?
There was a time where we would get, but I never entertained them. Again,
Okay.
this is they're like a FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. If one startup gets funded, then the activity starts from the VCs. They want to have one in their portfolio,
Got
so all that activity starts. But I'm very clear, and I did have a word with one of those matrimonial sites a couple of months back where they wanted to acquire a dating app, and I said, if you're acquiring me, I can't work under you. I'll probably exit the business,
it. Right.
but I cannot work under you. I will run the business my way. And I think that was something which they were not comfortable with, and I was fine with it because um, I am someone who cannot be dictated by a fund or a board of directors. I'm probably not made that way.
But tell me, Ravi, let's talk about ambition, right? You said that I am a single founder and it is difficult for me to put my heads into multiple businesses.
Hmm.
Um, but would you not imagine yourself running multiple businesses in the future, in somehow delegating this into yeah, so head of businesses, like we all know the stories of other entrepreneurs like Virgin. So are you not thinking on those lines where you would want to venture into multiple businesses somehow?
No, I don't think so. I've learned from my dad. I think you already know that he has multiple businesses,
Right.
and at a point of time, he realized that he needs to focus on one, while he remains a sleeping partner in other businesses.
Right.
So I believe that my company has grown almost 50%, right, from 2018 to 19,
Right.
and that was an eye opener for me that there's a lot of scope for me in the current business. So why should I try and test out something else?
Got it. Got it.
Maybe for the next 3 or 5 years, I'm not going to think about something else.
No, that's
uh,
amazing. Yeah, because a focus can do wonders, isn't it?
yes,
Instead of trying to put your hands into three businesses in just to keep massage your ego that I'm
yes,
running three different businesses, but
yes.
instead, if you can put in all that energy into one businesses, that could do wonders. And I'm
Yeah.
a big believer of focus. I just wanted to
Mhm.
get your answers. Just a quick question on on dating app experiences. So, do you
Mhm.
feel responsible also for the experiences offline, like when people meet,
Mhm.
and whether those experiences are safe and
Mhm.
healthy and stuff like that? And how do you manage that? Or that is not your domain. You are responsible only what happens on your app.
To be very honest, I have a very clear opinion on this. Some people may or may not like me for my opinion, but whatever experiences happen on the app, um, we try to give you the best experience. If something goes wrong, or let's say you have a fake user or someone who's trying to scam someone, it's my team who will immediately remove those people from the application.
Right.
uh, we don't want such people on our platform, right?
Right.
So unless and until you're on the application, uh, it is my duty to give you a good experience, and it is my duty to also educate you. And you see a lot of scams happening on social media, on even on Tinder or even on our application, where
Right.
people meet, they have been scammed and stuff happens, right? um, we educate them at each and every step. Before you send your first message, you get a screen which says, "Do not engage with people who might sound suspicious. People might call you to have a nude chat or a sex chat. Please be very careful." So
Right.
we have such clear messaging for our users.
Right.
But again, people are gullible, and out of 10 people, one person will fall for that trap. Those emails, right? Nigerian prince traps and all that stuff.
I have
So
got it.
someone is going to get trapped. And what happens beyond the application, it's your common sense.
Hmm.
I have no control over that.
Got
What you do, I've educated you. If you cannot take care of yourself beyond that point,
it.
I'm really sorry. I can only go to some extent and help you out,
Got it.
right? So, as far as you're within the application, I'm there for you, but I cannot handhold you beyond that. And we already have patterns and everything in place. Within minutes and seconds, we ban fake profiles,
Right.
right? So we have those things in place. So out of 180, 90 people will get banned within minutes and seconds, but the 10 people will remain. And for that, we have notices in place to tell you that, be careful. And yet, if you're not, then I don't know what will help you then.
Got it. Excellent. Well, this brings us to an end of a fascinating conversation with Ravi. Ravi, thank you for sharing insights and being so open about it. I don't think I have. That's why I asked you, would you be willing to share your numbers and stuff like that? And you were quite open about it, and that's quite refreshing. Not everybody is open, and learned a lot about your mindset. Very admire you for your ways, because again, uh, some, and maybe it comes from your background. You started very young, you started working from 16, so that you have these rigors and processes and discipline and focus, which I don't think other entrepreneurs of your age might be as wise as this. So that's quite a learning lesson from me and for my audience as well. So can't thank you enough, Ravi, and all the best for your future for Quack Quack. I keep keeping a close eye at that, and wishing you all the success for your future.
Thanks a lot, Ravi. Thanks for having me, and loved sharing my experience. I was skeptical. I've been all these years. I've been skeptical, but we finally did it. So thanks a lot for having me.